Hey everyone, Irit here with a new process video for Shimmerz paints. And I'm starting like I like to start with trying to match my paints and sprays to the products I think I know I will be using. I actually as I was making this, somehow I forgot that I started from this paper pad. This is the gorgeous Pink Paisley Summer Lights 6x6 paper pad. It's their kind of mini summer collection. I have a haul showing all I got from that collection on my channel, so check that out. And yeah, so I forgot about it, and yeah, but I managed to find products that coordinated with my background anyway. So I'm just gathering some paints, some pasties, which are texture pastes without shimmer. Shimmerz also has pastes with shimmer. So these are the flat ones. And of course a few sprays, because sprays are just my favorites to work with. I think they're just the easiest and most fun to use, and those are the ones I always grab, but I thought I would mix it up also with some paint. So I'm starting with some white cardstock and some Liquitex gesso, and I'm spreading it with old credit card that I cut up, and what you can't really see in the video is that it really leaves these tiny lines, which is okay if you want that texture, but I kind of wanted it a bit smoother. So that's why at some point I'm going to switch to another tool to spread it. Of course you can use a brush, but this is faster and it doesn't have any additional water. So that's good because cardstock doesn't really handle water any good. Doesn't really handle water well. Wow. English lesson needed. So I also decided to already start with adding some of this pasties. That beautiful teal color is called Tree Hugger, and I'll have all the products I use listed in the blog post, so don't worry if you miss that. And I had some leftovers on that piece of credit card, so I just grabbed an art journal and swiped it there. Don't waste anything. And there I switched to something easier, and this is kind of like a silicone, like a spatula or something like that. It's great. I've had it for years now, and it just works really well, and everything just peels off if you bother to peel it off. If you don't, then you'll have a dirty silicone applicator like mine. But it's really nice, and you know, you don't have to wash it or mess around with any wet brushes. So now I'm thinking, what else do I want to use? And the best thing would have been to just let it dry, but you know, I'm a little bit impatient. Also, I mostly craft when my baby is napping, and yeah, so the heat gun is the heat tool is a little bit loud, and that's why I mostly don't use it. And yeah, so I wanted to add a little bit of yellow. It always brings warmth to a page, so I just sprinkled a few splatters from the No Yokin colorings spray, which is just a flat lovely bright yellow. It's one of my favorites, one of my go-tos, one of those colors that I just keep on using. And then I decided to add some circles with, well, no, this is Oh Hey Can You See? It's also a colorings, and the problem is you want to be careful when you're doing this, because I kind of used the tip of the nozzle to draw these circles, and my gesso and paint were not completely dry, so it can clog up your nozzle. So don't do that. Just dry your first layer before you start adding something else. And then I tried to blend it with my water brush, and because the gesso was not dry, my water brush got some gesso on it, so I kind of freaked out and cleaned it because I don't want to ruin it. And yeah, so now I'm trying to think of how can I you know, just spread it around, and I had to give in and use a brush. So I grabbed one of my, this is kind of like a cheap brush set that I got from Amazon for a few euros. It's just a large set of round brushes, and I only use it for acrylic paint. Well, in this case, it's actually mist that I'm spreading around, but the gesso is still wet, as I have repeatedly said. So that's why I didn't want to use any of my nicer watercolor brushes. So then I decided to add the pink, but guess what? Since everything else was still wet, it kind of made a little bit of mud because it had the yellow and the aqua color underneath it. So when you add all these colors, you get a little bit of mud. So I kind of gave up on that paint idea, and yeah, and this area is a little bit messed up, but I wasn't worried because I knew that's roughly where my photo will go, so I can mess it up a bit. And then I decided it needed some pink because, well, it is my layout, so of course it needs pink. And I am using, this is, I think that one is Pink Stilettos, I want to say, which is a lovely hot pink. No, this is Pink Stilettos. Okay, I'm really bad. No, this is Pink Stilettos, and then the previous one is called Ruby, which is also a lovely pink, but that one has some shimmer in it. And Pink Stiletto is a flat spray without shimmer. And I don't mind mixing them. I usually just grab the color I like, and it doesn't really matter to me if it has shimmer or not, but just an FYI. So, of course, the packaging technique, because it just looks so good and it's so easy and fast. And yeah, you can, because I added gesso, I can add, you know, as much sprays as I want because the gesso kind of protects the paper. If I didn't use gesso, then the more water you use or the more sprays you use, the more your cardstock will buckle if you're using like something like American Crafts cardstock. I have heard about the Basil Marshmallow cardstock, that it can totally handle mists, but I don't really have a way to get my hands on it. Here in Europe, I've looked around and I can't really find it. So shipping from the US is horrendous. It's like super expensive, and paper is heavy. So anyway, if you want to use a lot of mists, I recommend using gesso. It won't give you exactly the watercolor look, but it does look beautiful, as you can see. So it's pretty close. It still looks great. Then I added some splatters in Plum Pudding, just wanted a bit of a darker color. And now I sped up the video even faster than before. Before I kept it kind of slower so that you can see how I created the background, but now it's just, you know, adding papers and embellishments. So I thought we could make this a little bit faster so it's not that boring to you. And at this point I forgot I wanted to use those pink paisley papers, and instead I pulled out this older Maggie Holmes collection for crate paper. Can't remember how this one was called. It had kind of a school theme to it, and yeah, so it had some, let's say, I don't know, like more intense, deeper colors, but I thought in small doses, you know, just peeking behind my photo, I can handle those darker colors, because usually I just like to use more lighter colors on my layouts. And I thought I was gonna add some foam adhesive behind it, but I end up removing it because I'm going to add a lot of chipboard, and that's also dimensional, and it was kind of giving me trouble trying to layer everything when the photo was so much more like higher than the level of the paper. And I'm sorry if you can hear Lily screaming in the background. My husband is brushing her teeth and she's not a fan. So sorry about that. Don't think we're neglecting. Don't think I'm making videos instead of, playing with her or taking care of her. Trying to brush her teeth. So I pulled out all my. Sorry that the video is a movie. Got a little bit, burnt out there. It's just the light. It depends, how cloudy it is, or suddenly the sun shines, so the white balance gets messed up a little bit sometimes. Anyway, I pulled out my chipboard stash, which is, I think all of it is just crate paper, Maggie Holmes and crate paper, and just fiddled around and moved things around until I got the arrangement that I wanted. And what was really fun, I totally mixed, I don't know, like 4 collections, I think, in the embellishments here. And that's the great thing about using the same manufacturer, that usually everything coordinates. So these balloons are by Maggie Holmes from the Confetti collection, and then the Oh Happy Moments, I think, is from the newer Crate Paper Oasis collection. That camera is also from that collection. I'm going to grab some banners again from that. I can't remember how that collection was called, with kind of that school theme. I don't know, it was also Maggie Holmes. Okay, I checked. That collection is called Shine, and I think it's from like 2 years ago, something like that. So that kind of banner there is from that collection, and this flower is from her Bloom collection. So you see that I totally mixed the collections, and I think it all works together, and the colors work beautifully with my background also, so I'm super happy. And yeah, just playing around with these cute banners. Eventually I will find a good space for them. So I wanted to trim down my cardstock and then mat it on some pattern paper. And I already knew that I want something black and white, just to add some contrast. So I'm going to go through my stash of crate paper papers, start from there, and luckily I had some very nice options, but I decided to go with this really bold black and white diagonal stripe from one of the Maggie Holmes collections. It's just, whatever you have in your stash will work. They all coordinate beautifully, and she has I think in all of her collections, she has some black and white patterns. So moving things around until I get them to the place I want. And this photo is a photo I took with my phone, selfie of my daughter Ella, my eldest, and her cousin, my niece, and myself. And we were just playing around in my other niece's birthday party. So they had this area with these cute little props, and the girls grabbed some of them, and they look super cute. So I definitely wanted to scrapbook that cute photo. Ella has a pipe, and her cousin has a hat and a mustache. Very cute. I guess they have a whole British detective theme going on without even knowing it. So I'm just adhering everything, and you want to make sure it's really nicely adhered because of the gesso and the paint and all that. You don't want all these chipboard pieces falling to the bottom of your page protector. And I think this would also actually look great in a frame or something like that. But yeah, maybe one day I will buy such frames. I've been wanting to buy, these shadow boxes for ages and put my scrapbook layouts, but I keep forgetting. So make sure you mention my name when you make a purchase in the Shimmerz store, and you'll get a freebie. Here are some close-ups of my project. I really had fun making this. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave me a comment if you have any questions. Have a lovely day, and check out my new online class. Bye.